In this next tutorial, I'm going to walk you through how to ask different questions by selecting a random question using the index. We need to use the index because we also want to match it to our answers. So we want the questions and answers to be able to match. That's why we can't just pick a random item from the list. We have to pick the index of the list. So first let's put this into a forever loop. And we'll break out of the forever loop. We can break out of the forever loop later, and we'll worry about that later. But for now, let's just create a forever loop. And in that forever loop, the first thing I'm going to want to do is set this index to a random number. In this case, it would be between 1 and 3 because I have 3 questions and 3 answers. But I probably, in fact, the specifications require me to have at least 5 questions. So I'm confident I'll be adding more. So what I want to do when I select this is I want to pick a random number. To start, I would say, well, I want to pick one from 1 to 3. But when I grow the size of the lists, I'll then have to change this. It would be easier to just have this managed by code because they give us this nice block of code called length of list. And I can just say, hey, I want to pick a random number between 1 and the length of a list. And the list I'll pick is my, I can pick answers or questions. I'll pick questions, but I could just as well have picked the answer length. So right now, this is going to set the index to a random number between 1 and 3, which is the length of questions, by the way. And I can just double check that by going like that. And yep, when I click on it, it tells me the length of questions is 3. So it's going to pick a random number between 1 and 3. And that's exactly what I want to have. Now, the next thing is that I want to ask, and I want to use this ask block, which is in sensing. And I want to ask a question. I don't want to ask the question, what's your name? I want to ask one of the questions from the list. So in order to be able to ask one of the questions from the list, I have to build a block of code. That block of code is the classic block that we used before, where we're going to select an item from a list. That's under variables. I'm going to select an item from the list. The item I'm going to pick is again going to be the index, just like when we made the movie app, our favorite movie app. So I'm going to pick the index from the list of questions. So it's now going to set the index between 1 and the size. Then it's going to ask the item at the index of the questions. And now I'm going to replace that what's your name. I'm going to use the halo effect there, and I'm going to snap that block into place. Now when I click the green flag, it should ask me a random question, the programming language used in this class. It should now when I stop it and start it again, hopefully it will ask me a different question, information aside a name. I'll stop it and start again. A group of related information stored via an index. I can also just hit this checkbox, which is kind of like the enter. I'm not checking to see if the value is right yet. I'm just asking random questions from my from the questions variable that is a list of questions. And I can still add more questions to this. But every time you add a question, make sure you also add an answer. Now, I didn't actually want to do that, so I'm going to back that out, and I'm going to back that out so that I don't have a blank one in there. But now, I am asking forever a question of my user. I still need to check if it's right, though.